All right, joining me now, Congressman Mike McLeod. Welcome back to the Alec Show.
Thank you. Great to be here.
Well, it's awesome to see you. What's the feeling like there in Congress here now? You got President Trump in there. You got control of the House, the Senate. What's the vibe? What's the atmosphere there compared to years prior?
Oh my gosh, it's a world of difference. You can feel it in the air, the feeling of freedom. I mean, there's such an oppression over the city for so many years. And some of that, I mean, you can just see, the years we had walls and barbed wire around the Capitol. Now the Capitol is open to the people. The people's house is open to the people. Imagine that. And then to have a president in office who shockingly is doing what he said he was going to do has caused a lot of consternation for the Dems, but for the American people, there it's refreshing. It's just refreshing to see somebody doing what they said they were going to do.
And the common sense too is refreshing to see. Just like yesterday, obviously the big breaking news, one of Trump's biggest campaign promises was to get this deal done, was to get these men out of women's sports, which just seems like a slam dunk thing to do, but it turned into it's such a big part and an important part of his presidency, an important part why he got elected. So, what was your take on the no men in sports executive order?
I have a daughter who competes at a high level in high school, and you like to see her future be able to for her to have that path. And just as a dad, it's awesome to see it happening, but to know what needs to happen in our culture as a country, that's refreshing to see it happen. I had the opportunity to talk to Riley yesterday, and of course she's been on the front lines of this, Riley Gaines, and all the great work that she's doing. And I love what she says. She says it's a great day, but also hope we feel a little absurdity that we're having to make a big that it's a big victory to finally say a man's a man and a woman's a woman. It just shows you the absurdity we've been through as a country in the last few years, that becomes a big deal. But it's awesome to have us getting back to common sense and to move away from what we've seen the Dems try to just force feed upon the American people.
It's almost impossible to put into words how lunacy that's involved in all of this stuff. And I remember having Riley Gaines on the show last year, and it's like her entire career trajectory changed because of this. I mean, this is a girl going to college and
Yeah.
pursuing other interests, and all of a sudden she's testifying in front of Congress about men being in the locker room. It's like it's so bizarre. I would imagine just for her in her shoes how her life changed, but just for all of us watching this,
Yeah.
how crazy it got.
Oh yeah, it is. And honestly, it's a good challenge to all of us, and a lot of times I'll talk to pastors or to people who are supposed to be on the front lines of these quote cultural wars and making sure that, we're standing for truth and those kind of things. And to see someone like her who this was not her goal or aspiration in life. I think she wanted to be a dental hygienist or something like that. Just wanted to swim well, compete well, do those kind of things. But what are you going to do when that moment's foisted upon you? Are you going to stand for truth or are you going to cower under it? And to see people like her standing up for truth, not cowering under pressure. Certainly, we need a lot more of that in Congress. We have that in the White House, but that's really what it's going to take to save the day for the American people.
Well, obviously, Congressman, another one of these things that Trump did day one was get the DEI out of the federal government. He shut that down. We know how he feels about that, how the rest of us do. You introduced the Dismantle DEI Act, got a lot of co-sponsors on there. So break that down for me.
Yeah, the Dismantle DEI Act does three things, really. It goes throughout the federal government and gets rid of all these offices, which, of course, President Trump has done. But it's important that as Congress, we understand that the next president could come in and upstand these things again if it's not for Congress following through, making sure that we're supporting the president and his objectives and codifying these things into law so that this evil doesn't come back into our federal government. So that's the first thing it does. And then it goes through the contracting side of things and then the grant making side of things that our federal government was trying to force feed this on the American people by forcing businesses to adopt these practices if you're going to do business with the federal government or to give out grants. We've seen uSAID and a lot of things happening lately that's coming out where these grants are just going. I've talked to ambassadors across the world who've told me, they said, look, right now, our choice is USA or China. We want to align ourselves with USA, their role for freedom in history and all the things that they've done for society. But right now we have a choice to embrace the State Department, which had been pushing all this DEI junk on their societies that their society didn't want to embrace, or infrastructure and roads and bridges with China. And that's the choice they were giving. We were giving the American people through our State Department. So us getting out of this business, getting back to common sense, getting back to policies that do well for the American people and help us to be a shining city on a hill, that's exactly where we need to go. That's exactly what we're seeing out of the White House. But we have to make sure we come behind the president as Congress and make sure that we're codifying these things into law, that we're going to have that same kind of courage that's going to get the wins for the American people for the long haul.
Well said, Congressman. And we are the leaders in the world here. People look up to us all around the world, and so they see us doing all of this, ridiculousness stuff with the DEI when it comes to to men and women's sports. Like, and then they feel like, okay, follow the leader. Like, we're going to take their way and go with it. And so many other places around the world have been corrupted because of this stuff that we've been doing. But the DEI, the left tries to press it that it says DEI equals non-black. DEI gets rid of black workers, and it's like, it couldn't be further from the truth. And I think everybody that's put in a common sense position, like if you're running, we don't see it in the NFL, the NBA, they don't pick players based on what they look like. They pick players based on who's going to help them win the championship game. And that should be the approach we take in every aspect of society.
Exactly. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. would talk about the soft bigotry of low expectations. He talked about the importance of us looking at content of character, us valuing merit and those sort of things. That's exactly what we want. And the irony of it all is what you see in the Trump administration is a very diverse administration while he's hiring competent people. And so to think that we have to lower standards in order to have diversity is bigotry. For us to be able to say that we're going to hire the best people, we're gonna look at content of character, we're going to look at merit. We should not be evaluating people based on race or all these other demographic qualities. Can you do the job? Can you do it well? Can you return a good ROI for the American people? That's exactly what we see coming from this administration. And again, Congress, we've got to continue to back it up. And not just sit on our hands and expect the president to do all the work. We got to make sure that we're not just campaigning on America First principles, but we're also doing the hard work and making sure we work these things through Congress as well.
Yeah, the part of getting in and elected is done, and now it's time to deliver. And I think President Trump, just 3 weeks into this, has been doing just that. But the DEI stuff too, it's like you have Kamala Harris, who was a 100% DEI choice. The president admitted to that. That's why he picked her. So it's like, and you could see the difference between Trump picking Vance versus Kamala. When you see JD Vance sit down in front of the media, when you see JD Vance get up there and speak, you can understand why this guy was put in that position. And then when you hear Kamala Harris, you can understand that, oh, okay, well, she can't seem to speak straight, so they had to pick her for this other reason. We just saw the breakdown. They gave us the full 60 minutes, and it was a word salad potpourri.
Yeah, and what's been amazing and actually shocking, it seems like the Dems haven't learned the lesson. We had an oversight committee hearing yesterday, and they're, maybe if they double down on the failed promises and mantras and rants of the election cycle, that the American people are going to open their eyes. And the American people have already rejected it, and yet they continue to go down that road. I would think there would be a course correction there. Hopefully there will be, because really what we want is what's best for our country. What's best for our country is us to be able to put this aside, not erasing history, recognizing history, but us understanding that what makes us strong is the unity we find within the diversity. It's not evaluating people along these racial lines or whatever lines you want to create, these false dichotomies and those kind of things. Let's value merit. Let's value people for their character, and put this season of life behind us as a nation.
Yeah, and Congressman, I was just saying before you came on, like yesterday you had Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas swearing in Pam Bondi, the Attorney General. So you would think the left, who wants all diversity, they're all supposed to be for all this stuff. You have a black Supreme Court Justice swearing in a woman as Attorney General, only the third one in history. You would think that's be something they would be celebrating and saying, wow, look at how much progress we've made. Look at how great this is. But instead, they don't even want to look at it. They try to just downgrade the whole thing happening. So where do they really stand on all that stuff?
Yeah, that's the big question. The American people have seen through it. They only, we had Biden, say you're not black enough or something along those lines.
Yeah, if you don't vote for me, you ain't black.
Yeah, right. It's the absurdity. But thankfully, the American people are done swallowing the lies. They're seeing through it. The legacy media that thought they had a lock hold on the American mind has proven themselves unworthy to the task, and the American people have risen to the challenge and thankfully are embracing these founding principles where we understand life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness, the innate value that God puts in the human soul, and the structure that we built as a country to protect and preserve that.
Yeah, well said. And this Elon Musk is driving the left absolutely bananas. I mean, it seems like they're trying to make it sound as if Trump got elected and then all of a sudden he introduced Elon Musk. Like I was there in Butler
Yeah.
when Elon came on the stage. The place went absolutely insane when he came on there. We've known that Elon was going to be a part of this. We've seen what he did with Twitter and the Twitter files. We know that social media censored in cooperation with the government, censored the 51 intelligence officers with the Hunter Biden. We know about all this stuff now. We're excited about Elon being on board. And the left is trying to play like, oh, look, nobody elected Elon. Well, look what you guys got. You have buyer's remorse now. We're like, what the hell are you talking about?
Yeah, that's the absurdity of this whole argument because, like you said, they're acting like this just popped on the radar, like this was a secret card the president had in his back pocket or something. It's like, no, he campaigned on this for months. He actually said that Elon would be involved in it, heavily so, and the American people voted overwhelmingly for it. And the only shocking thing, again, is that we have a president doing what he said he was going to do. That's the only shocking thing in this scenario. But it's certainly refreshing. And then if you think the dichotomy between what we saw in the Biden administration, you had him handing out medals of freedom to George Soros and what they were doing, like with Elon, you see him bringing in a billionaire with technical skills to bring transparency. They were doing the opposite. They had, millionaires and billionaires funneling through all these back channels and shell games to get your taxpayer dollars to fund all these nefarious leftist ideologies here at home and across the world, and everything was under the radar. And we're trying to, no one's debated or disputed any of the facts that they've uncovered. Nobody said, well, that's not accurate. They're just pointing to him and making it a personality issue. But the truth is now the American people are saying, that's what we've been paying for. I've been working hard and a substantial part of my paycheck is going to pay for that crazy nonsense. We don't want that. So the American people are not buying into the leftist games. They're not buying into the leftist messaging and the hysteria that they thought they would be able to kind of push America into a corner with it's falling on deaf ears because the American people are seeing the truth.
It is. And these are the people that nobody voted for Kamala Harris and she became their candidate. And now they're like, oh, no one voted for Elon. It's like everyone. And just like you said, no one is trying to stick up for the wasteful spending that we're seeing. This uSAID stuff is, Caroline Levitt's just pointed out just a few of these things. And it's like we're the taxpayers hearing this. So, and no one's trying to defend it. They're just trying to tell you, oh, you shouldn't be looking over there. That's the dirty underwear drawer. We don't want anybody looking in it. But if this is what we hear right now, it's got to be 10 times worse what we don't know about. And you know what? We're getting taxed on everything here, Congressman. Income tax, sales tax, property tax, gas tax. We're taxed out the rear end. And then now we find out this is where it's going. It pisses us off out here.
Well, I can tell you, as an elected official, having to deal with the bureaucracy that by and large is not elected, their idea has been like, we're permanent, you're temporary as an elected official. We will drag our feet, we will obfuscate, we will hide the truth. We ask for information, we don't get it back. It ends up being this game where they're like giving us a little bit and so this is the game we play with the unelected bureaucracy that hides in the shadows, that does everything to cover up what they're doing instead of bringing true accountability to the American people. And so all the messaging that you see coming from the left, the hysteria is backwards. Of course, they keep projecting what they would do in the situation on Republican conservative leadership when what you see is us bringing transparency to these sort of things and letting the American people know really just how bad it is and what we need to do and where we need to go, and making sure, again, we're returning a good ROI for the American people. And their
it's good because it does seem like we've kind of changed course here, because towards the end of last year, it didn't seem like we were on the same page. It seemed like there was a lot of problems, infighting in Congress. We weren't sure about Speaker Johnson. Now it seems like everybody seems to have rallied around the fact that President Donald Trump supports Speaker Johnson, and it seems like everyone seems to be ready to get on the same page now. Is there that camaraderie there, or is there still going to be problems as we unfold the rest of President Trump's this year and going forward?
Well, what some people that come characterize as problems is honest deliberations in Congress. And, what you see in Congress on the outside, I can understand it might look chaotic sometimes, but what you see is from the Democratic Party, you have a party that works in lockstep They just do what the groupthink is. This is also the kind of thinking they tried to foist on the American people through censorship, through everything else, the groupthink ideology versus the really only debate, which Congress is supposed to be a deliberative body, is happening on the Republican side of the spectrum. And so you have people with honest disagreements. We know where we want to go. We believe in the America First agenda, appreciate the leadership, certainly that President Trump's bringing to the table. And really the conversation is just in how big and how bold we can get in supporting that agenda, and us doing what we can to rally the votes behind that. And so that's the honest discussion that you want to see happening in Congress. It should be encouraged. Obviously, we got to move forward because there's a clock in play as well. So we're hoping to see things continue to move forward, and we're working toward that. But the American people should be happy about what they're seeing when they see that kind of thing happen. The idea is not to go to the left's ideology where we're just doing four people in a closet deciding what we're going to do, and everybody else just comes out and enjoys their cozy seat in Congress and is the rubber stamp for leadership. We're doing the hard work of representing the people. That's exactly what you want to see in a functioning government.
Yeah, it makes sense. Good, well put, Congressman. And the last thing here, too, the Democrats are, they're doing everything they can to slow down President Donald Trump in what he is doing. And right now, today, they're postponing Kash Patel's committee vote. So it's like now it's another week that we have to wait just before him to get out of there to get started doing the job. And we're already in February here. And it's like Biden, when he had his nominees and appointees, they all went right through, smooth sailing. He got the people he wanted. And here we go again now with the Democrats delaying President Trump and not giving him his people.
Well, and it shows the hypocrisy, of course, when they're in charge. Oh, bipartisanship, it's important. It's, the Constitution. We need to support the president, whoever his pick is, because he won the seat. And the moment the cards are flipped, it's like, well, we've got to do everything we can to obfuscate these very competent people. You may disagree with them, but they are competent. They know what they're doing. Again, the President Trump ran on these people being involved. He told you, by and large, what his cabinet was going to look like, and what these people would be involved with, and the American people voted and supported it. But again, the left has not learned their lessons from the election. We're going to win in this. The American people have the president's back, and the support. They are supporting his nominees. We're going to get this done. They can do what they can to obfuscate, but it's going to happen.
Yeah, well said, Congressman. What else you got working? Are you working on any of the bills behind the scenes there? What's coming up next? And are you going to be down there at CPAC this year?
Oh, yeah, we got a lot of stuff going on. Of course, we're South Texas, so of course, border is a big issue. We're dropping a bill today called the Patrol Act that allows states to, much of what we see Texas doing. The governor actually of Texas is up here today, and what they've done where we saw the Biden administration fail to secure the border, the states, Texas would step up and work to secure the border. But unfortunately, we had the federal government working against the state, doing the federal government's job. So we have legislation that will, again, continue to support the good work the president's doing, but make sure that we're codifying these things into law so that states have a right going forward, even past the Trump administration, to do what they can to make sure their borders are secure.
Yeah, very cool. All right, Congressman Michael Cloud, grateful that you give me the time. Love to have you back on the show anytime down the line. Thanks for joining me here on the Alec Show today.
Thanks so much. God bless you. Thanks for your great work.